Hey, what's up, guys? Figured I would do another one of these sort of Q&A type videos because I know a lot of you guys have similar questions when one of them comes up. So I hope you guys like this format too. Let me know if you have any other questions you'd like me to answer in this style. So the question I got a couple days ago from a client was, why do I program unilateral exercises for powerlifting? Which is a pretty good question. I know that unilateral exercises suck, and you don't want to do them if you don't have to. So I figured I'd get into it a little bit today. So definitely, unilateral exercises or single leg stuff, and this could apply to single arm exercises of the upper body too, but we're going to stick to lower body today. They have a low face validity. So basically, they don't look like the task you were being asked to do in competition, right? So they don't look like a competition squat or deadlift. So the question, will this make me squat more? I think the answer is yes, over time, indirectly. So let me get into some of those reasons. When we talk about carryover of an exercise to competition, the word that gets thrown around in my circles is dynamic correspondence, which is a term coined, I think, by Verkhoshansky in super training. But basically, it just means, will training this exercise improve this metric of competition, basically. And there are certain criteria that must be met for a training exercise to have dynamic correspondence, such as the direction and application of force, the right speed profile, proper muscular sequencing, all that kind of stuff. But basically, if you don't want to concern yourself with that, know that a single leg unilateral exercise is not necessarily the most sports specific exercise you can pick, and that should be pretty obvious from face value. It is not the most specific exercise you could be doing, and it is not the one, like if you're stranded on a desert island of training, right, and you could only pick 3 exercises to be better at powerlifting, guess what? A unilateral exercise isn't going to be one of them, right? It's squat, bench, dead. And as such, it's never usually the highest priority in my programs. And it's not usually done first, although there are some times where that would be appropriate. The top priority is still always placed on the most specific exercises. But there are arguments to be made for why to include it. So strength is partially a skill, right? You can build systematic strength in a lot of ways, but powerlifting specific strength in this exercise is something of a skill, right? There's a skill to being able to low bar correctly, as some of you know, by having to switch over to it and realizing that you're not as good at it right away as you were with high bar, right? Because it's a skill. It's also a skill to be able to demonstrate that strength on a 1 rep max, right? That is a skill in and of itself, to be able to hit singles very heavy, very well. But you can get stronger, general strength. You can get your system stronger without doing any one particular exercise, right? So you can get stronger at squatting, like you can get stronger legs without practicing squatting, right? And that's something people don't think about, but it is true, right? Not only can you grow the muscles associated with that movement, but you can actually get stronger. You can get more force production, more recruitment of motor fibers without practicing that specific exercise. One person who talks about this specifically for single leg exercises is Cal Dietz, who's a strength coach up in Minnesota. He talks about how he removed squatting altogether for a period of time for his hockey players, I believe, and they just did single leg Hatfield squats or reverse lunges or something like that, holding on to the cage and having a safety bar on their back, extremely heavy, and it blew up their strength. And when they went back to squatting, they were stronger. They could use more weight at squatting without having squatted for several months prior, just as an example. Of course, that is a little bit of a different priority in field sports versus strength sports. But as far as the reason I program unilateral exercises, there's a couple of them. We talk about it having an indirect correlation to your performance. So No, it is not a 1v1. Like if I put 10 pounds on my Bulgarian split squat, 1 rep max, if that were such a thing, which it shouldn't be, then I know that I'm going to put 10 pounds on my back squat max. It doesn't work like that. But the better you get at this particular single leg exercise, it's going to affect this next exercise or this next metric, which in turn is going to affect this, which is going to affect this, and down the line affect your squat in a positive way. So it's a correlation that you can't always see, but I know to be there. And then another reason is that the biggest limiting factor in a lot of people's numbers that they can put up for squat in particular, deadlift to a second degree, is that their biggest limiting factor is the stability of their hip and also the stability around their spine. And really the only way, or at least the best way to improve stability is with single leg exercises, at least of the hip, right? One analogy that I heard recently that I'll share with you is that if you're trying to squat on, say, an unstable hip or an unstable set of hips, it's kind of like walking on ice, right? Like you can't expect to sprint all out on ice and reach the same speeds you would on turf or whatever, because your body knows that it's an unstable surface. And it's no different in squatting on unstable joints, right? Your central nervous system will actually downregulate the amount of force that you can put through those muscles. So you could have the biggest, strongest quads in the world, but if your hip is unstable, you will not be able to recruit all of that strength because your spine does not want to get your body injured. Your central nervous system does not want your body to get injured. It's going to down-regulate the amount of force that you can put through that unstable joint in order to protect you from yourself, basically. So that's extremely common, and that's one of the primary reasons I include single leg exercises, especially in the warm-up and especially unsupported. I know that it's tough to be able to do airplanes and single leg RDLs without holding on to anything, but that is how you will get the most benefit from them. So basically, the sturdier you can get that joint, the more force you can put through it, and the stronger you're going to get down the line. And another reason is just hip health, basically, joint health in general. So we talk about a single leg exercise like a lunge or something, basically being an extension of the gait cycle or walking, right? Which is like the primary human function. If you did 25 squats in a workout, that's a pretty good workout, but you'll take 10,000 steps a day and not even bat an eye. So we need to protect the function of that hip, right? So we need healthy, functional, stable hips to expect to keep training them bilaterally in the squat, right? So you could argue that sport performance is partly who gets injured less often, right? You'll make more progress if you get injured less often, and hopefully you'll get injured less often if you have healthier and more stable hips that can function the way they were intended to, right? So no, doing Bulgarian split squats and front foot elevated whatever, it might not directly strengthen your squat or deadlift, but it will allow you to strengthen your squat and deadlift, right? Because you'll be able to train them harder and more often and put more force through those joints. So I hope this was helpful. Like I said, leave any questions about this or any future topics you want me to talk about with you guys in the comments. And have a great weekend.